Hey everybody, what's happening? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com, and we are hopping on live here on the Syracuse Orange Basketball Facebook page. And maybe you're watching later on sometime in the future on YouTube. Either way, we appreciate you hanging with us here, and it is all presented by Krause Health. If you are watching us live here on Facebook, we're coming right off the heels of a very cheery Jim Boeheim press conference. He was in a good mood in this one, despite reasons not to be in one sense, but certainly in a good mood for the right reason, and that Syracuse got what is a huge road win over Ohio State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Final score was 72-62. So let's start there, okay? Let's start with what we should start with in one sense, because we know what the elephant in the room in this game is, and I'm going to talk about it, okay? But this is a big road win for Syracuse. This is a big win, period. And you say, Brent, it's only November. It's not even December on the calendar yet. How can this be a huge road win? There's reasons this is a huge road win. Namely, the last few years when Syracuse has been on the cut line, has been on the bubble, and just in general, you need big non-conference wins in your back pocket. These November games count. Go back to a couple of years ago, Battle for Atlantis. Syracuse got wins over Texas A&M and UConn. Those mattered in March. Syracuse needed some non-conference wins a year ago to get them over the hump. Even that Buffalo win at the Dome last year was huge because they were right on the cut line for the NCAA tournament. Now, the way you take yourself out of that conversation is you have a great run in the ACC and make your non-conference schedule not as important, but either way, Ohio State was number one this week in the new net ratings, the new kind of RPI-like system that the NCAA is doing to help determine who makes the NCAA tournament and not. So after road losses, neutral site, if you will, at Madison Square Garden, to Oregon and UConn, Syracuse absolutely needed this win. From that standpoint, they needed to get back on track. They needed a big confidence booster. They needed to get down and dirty, play some defense, win in a gritty way, and they did that. So huge win by all fronts. Elijah Hughes was big for Syracuse. Tyus Battle was huge for Syracuse. This was also a big win for the Orange in that what did we keep saying before he came back? Well, when Frank Howard comes back, Syracuse will be fine. And my answer to that has always been you have to learn how to win without him. You have to learn how to work around that, as important as he is. And, Frank Howard is one of several players in foul trouble tonight. Which brings me to what we really need to talk about here. And I know you guys are going to be in the comments doing it. And please light up these officials. Light them up in those comments or wherever you want to, because that was one of the worst officiated games I have ever seen in my life. That was probably on par with, if not worse, than when Syracuse and Ohio State played in the 2012 NCAA tournament in the Elite Eight. That will forever be one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen in any sport. That was disgusting, what we saw in Columbus, Ohio tonight. And if that's what college basketball wants, they need to seriously reevaluate what is happening, because those of you that watch college basketball know this is happening everywhere. These refs are whistle happy. They've been told to call a lot of things, overcall games, and it's absurd why anybody would think this is what you, the consumer of college basketball, what I, the watcher of college basketball, in this case a media member covering Syracuse, but just a fan of college basketball, wants to see is utterly ridiculous, and they need to fix it now. And I don't even care that they were Big Ten refs out there tonight. They were, Big Ten, ACC, SEC, I don't care what conference they came from. You could have found three guys out in the parking lot before the game. That was a farce is what it was. That was absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about the disparity of calls between Ohio State and Syracuse. I'm talking about the fact that every play down the court, a whistle's going off. Who wants to watch that? Who wants to tune in a college basketball game on any night at any time and watch the officials? Who in their right mind thinks that that's what we're watching? You got to call plays. You got to call fouls. You got to officiate the game. I don't want it to be the Wild West out there. Nobody does. But no one wants a whistle on every play. There's an old adage, and it's funny because maybe it's me, because I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and the Bills-Jaguars game on Sunday was one of the worst officiated games I have seen in my life. there's an old adage that you can really apply to any sport, so we'll apply it to college basketball, and that is you can call a foul on every play. You can call a foul on every sequence. You're always seeing things that can be called. It doesn't mean you do it. It doesn't mean you have to make those calls every single time. That was dreck. That was unwatchable is what it was. So I hope the college basketball overlords, whoever they are, that we have to appeal to are, I don't think they're watching this, but I think they have to get the message one way or the other. That is unwatchable garbage, and you need to clean it up. You need to put Oscar back in his can because no one wants to watch that crap. It was ridiculous. And, let's go look at it by the numbers, okay? And again, this is not being a homer. This is not saying Syracuse is on the wrong side of this. I'm just saying I don't want to see whistles every time they go up and down the floor. But here are the numbers. So Syracuse was called with 28 personal fouls in this game tonight. You had Frank Howard foul out of this game. You had Merrick, I'll say Dolzai. I think it's Dolzai, though Carl Ravitch from ESPN was calling it all sorts of things on the broadcast tonight. But Dolzai had 5 fouls. Barama Sidibe, that 5th foul on Barama, what were you watching? What kind of call do you think that was? I lost count of how bad. The call on Elijah Hughes late in the game, he didn't foul out, but the call late in the game on Elijah Hughes, what are you watching? What is that? That is not what we want to see. So those are guys that fouled out of the game, and you had a couple other players who almost did. Pascal Chukwu had 4 fouls. Surprising that in a game a bunch of guys foul out, Pascal's not one of them. How about that goaltending call at the end? That's a goaltend, but it wasn't a foul. I mean, over and over and over again, these overzealous, overly ambitious referees are just blowing the whistle, and it was ridiculous. So Syracuse put Ohio State on the free throw line 35 times. 35 free throws for Ohio State. They go 26 of 35 at the free throw line. Syracuse goes to the free throw line tonight 19 times. 17 of 19. Syracuse was called for 28 fouls. Ohio State called for 17. Ohio State is the physical team. Ohio State is the team that came in with the reputation of kind of banging inside, being physical. How can the foul disparity in a game like that be 11? And it was actually bad the whole game, but the big gap was I believe it was a 13-6 gap at halftime. Joke. Absolute joke. And these refs better clean it up because no one wants to watch that garbage. And it's not just this game. That's why some frustration is spilling over here because I've been seeing it across college basketball this year. I've been reading some stuff from people that cover the game day in and day out. This is a problem. And you got to clean it up, college basketball, because no one wants to see this. I don't even know what that was. It wasn't even college basketball. But you know what it was? It was a win for Syracuse. It was a big win. We mentioned Elijah Hughes was big for Syracuse, 18 points. O'Shea Brissett, who fought off foul trouble, one of many, had 3 before, you could take 2 sips of your cold beverage. He has to, I think, walk out of the game with about 9 minutes to go in the first half, right? He's got 3 fouls, but he came back in the second half and was big. Just looking at the numbers. Battle led the way for Syracuse. Another big game for him. 20 points on the day for Battle. And one of the more surprising stats in this game, and it's young in this season, I think we knew this team had more shooters, and this would round out as the season goes here. But Syracuse has really struggled to shoot from three-point range so far this season. Not tonight. 11 of 24, 45% from three-point range. Hughes was huge from beyond the arc, 4 of 9 there. Frank Howard had 8 points tonight. He was in foul trouble, one of a few to foul out, as we mentioned, but he hit a couple from behind the three-point line. O'Shea Brissett was 2 of 4 from the three-point line. And your boy Merrick Dolzai, he had 2 three-pointers all of last season. He had 2 in this game. So that's what carried Syracuse through, gave them that separation they needed because they won a game 5-on-8 tonight. They beat the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they beat those Big Ten officials that were out there as well. All right. I've ranted enough. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments here. A lot of you just agreeing with the officiating, and I appreciate you saying that, but it really wasn't that hard to see, right? We watched the game, and it's frustrating. No one wants to watch that. No one wants to see a referee blowing his darn whistle every time down on both ends, by the way. Okay, the disparity is there. Syracuse got robbed on a bunch of calls. They did. It's just flat out true. And I hate to do that. If you listen to me on the radio, if you have watched enough of these Facebook Lives, I am very cautious about blaming referees or getting into, referees affecting the game, because teams can always overcome it. Syracuse did tonight. They shot the three well. They overcame plays. They drew fouls when they needed to, and good for them for doing that. But the refs affected the game way too much tonight. It was one of the worst officiated games I have ever watched in my life, and it was absolute garbage. And this is the problem with college basketball. There's no, Commissioner Goodell or Commissioner Manfred who can step in and fix this. You think that joker that runs the NCAA is going to step in and fix this? I don't even think he can at this point. Just absolutely ridiculous. Scott saying whistle happy is correct. Every play was a call, tough to watch, and limits both teams from getting in a flow. Exactly. Let them play basketball. Basketball is a game that goes up and down the floor. And, a lot of people, I like Brian in there saying, pay Dino. I love it. Yeah, let's get a football comment in there. That's awesome. What was I saying there before I got off track? I just love that comment from Brian. No, look, that's it. Some people were saying in the live chat on syracuse.com that, I miss the old days of Syracuse basketball, the free-flowing up and down, and the run-and-gun play. And, college basketball has changed since then. But my response to people in the live chat was they can't get in the flow if they tried in this game because the officials were so ridiculous. Just, oh, my God. I hate when that happens. I hate it for you. I hate it for fans of the game. At least back in the day, like Jim Burr and Tim Higgins and those refs we love to hate, they weren't even this bad. They had some bad calls, but these are guys that ref Final Fours that were actually pretty decent referees that we just ragged on a little too much at times. They were characters, at least. These guys are just bad. Just absolutely atrocious. Charlie saying Howard's the key, has to stay out of foul trouble. For the most part, he does. But in a game like this, nobody could stay out of foul trouble. Richard saying Syracuse shot well from the three tonight, but can't live and die by it. They need to start getting to the hole and not settling for jump shots. I think you make a great point there. I was wondering how O'Shea Brissett would do that tonight, considering that, Ohio State's got some brutes in there and they got some physical players, and that's kind of what they're known for. They were forcing 15 turnovers a game. Who did get inside and had some pretty drives was Tyus Battle. Tyus Battle showing what he needs to do. He had a great catch and shoot three, don't get me wrong, in this game, but he's better when he can, kind of work inside out, make people respect him going in, and then once in a while pop out on that three-point line and hit some open shots. I don't think this is a team that can't live and die by the three, but the fact that they have Tyus, they have O'Shea, they have Elijah Hughes, who gets better every game. That kid's got guts. He wants the ball. He wants to shoot. Frank can hit a couple threes. Merrick Dolezaj hit a couple threes. Buddy Boeheim didn't play tonight. And he had been 3 of 28 shooting the ball coming in. I think we're certainly going to see Buddy play against Cornell, considering it's Jimmy Boeheim for Cornell, Buddy Boeheim for Syracuse, and coaching against Jim Boeheim, of course. So we'll see Buddy back on the floor on Saturday. But I think Jim was smart to sit him tonight, let him collect himself. Other guys were doing the work out there. But he probably would have fouled out if he played anyway, right? Richard saying great second half. Boeheim made a big adjustment at halftime. One thing we haven't mentioned is how good the Syracuse defense was. I brought it up on the radio today that I wanted to see that Syracuse zone defense really flex its muscle, get out on shooters, be active. And for the first part of the game, remember, Ohio State really jumped out and had, it was a 9-2 lead, and they kind of built it from there, and Syracuse just kept chipping away. But what really carried this was not only the three-point shooting and great shots from Hughes and Battle getting to the hole. It was good defense. There were stretches of 8-9 minutes in a couple different instances in this game where Ohio State didn't score. And, they were getting to the free throw line plenty, but they weren't getting the field goals they needed. Overall, Ohio State shot 15 of 46 in this game. That's 32%. They were 6 of 22, from three-point range. Meanwhile, Syracuse shot 48%. Overall, they shot 46% from three-point range. It's an easier game when the ball's going in the hoop. And they won a 5-on-8 basketball game tonight. I'm sorry, I keep coming back to that, but I can't get over how bad these refs were. That's why I'm glad we get to do this. I'm glad we get to do this Facebook Live, and I can vent a little bit. You guys can vent a little bit. And, what's the old expression? What's the advice you always give at weddings, right? Don't go to bed angry. We're not going to bed angry tonight because Syracuse won, and because we're venting about these bad officials. We all feel better, right? That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. I'm here to watch. Let's see. I like this comment from Dave DeMars. I'm writing a strongly worded letter to someone. Let's see if I still have this on my computer. I found a great meme the other day. I know there's a lot of memes on Facebook, but it was a Simpsons meme. And the guy, I don't have it on my computer, but the guy said, I'm going to go on the internet and complain about this. And it was just so simple. And it's like, yeah, well, sometimes you need to do that, right? Like we are right now. But you write that letter, Dave, and you let me know how it goes. It's like the Shawshank Redemption, right? I'll write 2 letters a week if that's what it takes. I'll write 5 letters a week if we can get the refs to stop blowing the darn whistle so much. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. Aaron saying the commentators were a joke. Syracuse can't shoot. I was disappointed, man. I like Karl Ravech. He's a good broadcaster, but he could not say Marek Dolezaj's name right. Not to mention there was a part to just catch when they showed there was a little baby on the screen. And look, I'm not a fashion expert. I'm particularly not a fashion expert for kids. My daughter's 12 now. That was a girl, right? And Carl said, the young fella on the screen. I was like, hey, Carl, come on, man. You're killing me. And I'm a fan of Dockich. I like Dan Dockich. He was raising money for a great cause out there. But it's like, hey, fellas, can you talk more about how bad the officiating is? Can you talk more about this close game we have here than, the little auction you had going on the air? Which, again, great cause, Jimmy V, fantastic. I get what they were trying to do there. But, the game is rule number 1. Okay? When you have a close game, we want to hear about the game. So, yeah, that was disappointing from that standpoint. But both those guys are good broadcasters, just had a bad night. I like Dockich. Dockich is an honest guy, knows college basketball, is not afraid to say what's on his mind. He's fun. He's energetic. And between the two, Ravech had the worst game. He really did. And he insisted that that's how he was told to pronounce Marek Dolezaj's name. And no, it really isn't. We have a video on syracuse.com. I should share the link here, where the players themselves announce how to pronounce their names. Actually, I think I got it right here. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You remember this video? Let's see if I can pull this off. Let's see if I'm technically sound here. Boom. There it is in the comments. You see that video I just posted via Syracuse Orange Basketball? Syracuse basketball players pronounce their own names. Perhaps we should send that to one Karl Ravech at ESPN, because it's not the way you were saying, Dolezaj. You had to overcome the refs. You had to overcome the announcers. You had to overcome everything tonight. But that's just it. It is a big win for Syracuse, because I brought this up at the top of the broadcast that, Texas A&M, UConn a couple years ago, Buffalo last year. Syracuse just kind of, fair or not, and it's unfair because lots of teams don't leave their respective states or don't play enough road games in non-conference play. This was a true non-conference road game, the last one Syracuse had, by the way. Ohio State was – now, I don't get these net ratings they put out. I think they put it out a little too early. It's kind of this new RPI-like measurement that we'll be hearing a lot more of come later in the season when we're seeing who's on the bubble, who's off the bubble. That's unfortunately where Syracuse has been. Ohio State was number 1 in that poll this week. They were 16th overall. It's a big non-conference win. I think Syracuse needed to play better defense, which they did tonight. I think they needed to prove they could win a game without Frank Howard, which they did tonight. And Frank made some plays, hit some shots, but was in foul trouble. They had to show they could overcome that adversity. They did that. And they didn't lose their cool out there. I will give them a lot of credit. I mean, Boeheim certainly, Mount Boeheim was about to erupt. I thought we were going to get another jacket toss at some point. But the players kept their cool out there. You saw them moving for the ball, moving the ball itself. They came out of the gate slow, and that's an issue that Syracuse has. And, if it's an issue in late November going into December, hopefully they kind of get out of it. But slow starts have been a problem for this team. And they had another slow start tonight. So you want to pick some nits. That's certainly one there. But they held their composure through one of the worst officiated games that any of them will ever play in. That's for sure. Mark noting St. Bonaventure. They're not as good as this year as last, but that's still a game you want to win. The other big non-conference game coming up, and it's at home. Buffalo's good. Buffalo's good again. What Nate Oates has done with that Buffalo Bulls team, I mean, look, Buffalo sports right now, killing it. The Bills, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they haven't lost in a few weeks. The Sabres, how about the Buffalo Sabres? The best team in the NHL right now. UB Bulls football was 10-2 this year, and the UB basketball team is, I think, the clear favorite to win the MAC and will be another important non-conference win for Syracuse. So Mark brought up St. Bonaventure. Yeah, that's certainly, you don't want to lose that game at home. That's their last non-conference game before they go into ACC play, but not as loaded a team as last year. They've been struggling a little bit. Josh saying that Syracuse can beat Duke. Hey, man, anything can happen in college basketball, but they got a lot of work to do to be on the level of beating. Have you seen Duke this year? Did you see Duke last night? Now, Duke lost to Gonzaga last week, so a little glimmer of hope there, but Duke has Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish. They're all top 5 picks in next year's draft. Yeah, this just in. Duke's got really good players. This year, it's a little more ridiculous than usual. So the advantage that Syracuse has is by the time they play Duke, it's going to be February. Or no, I stand corrected. So their first game is at Duke on January 14th. On Big Monday, and then February 23rd, I believe, is the big home game here in Syracuse. That will surely be 35,000. Probably College Game Day will be there and the whole kit and caboodle. So I wouldn't go saying like the football equivalent is, we want Bama. I wouldn't quite go there yet. But look, Syracuse has proven they can beat Duke in conference play. Some really good Duke teams in recent years. Let's see. Dan saying, love Boeheim pulling guys early and coaching them up. 3 subs in the first minute and a half of the game. Pascal Chukwu went out of the game in the first 30 seconds. Then Barama goes out. Merrick Dolezaj had to play a lot of center tonight because of the foul trouble of both of those players. But right off the bat, not messing around, because what did Ohio State do? They came out, went back door. They're attacking the zone, and Boeheim wasn't having it. So that's a great point that you make there. Let's see. Here come the Duke comments. I love it. Just give me a Duke EV in there too, right? Give me even though Vitale doesn't do a lot of Duke games anymore. They put Vitale on like the B team these days. I don't know what team we got tonight, but it certainly wasn't the A team on ESPN. So listen, I feel better. Do you guys feel better? I feel a little better, a little bit, but we got to see how this is handled going forward, because that was one of the worst officiated games of all time that I have ever watched. The fact that 2 of the worst officiated games I've ever seen are Syracuse-Ohio State games, that doesn't speak well when these two get together. So hopefully as the season goes along, this gets fixed, because no one wants to watch this. I'm a big college basketball fan, as many of you are watching, and I don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. No one sits down and watches these games, whether the comfort of your own home, at the Carrier Dome, wherever it is, to watch those guys blow a whistle. So hopefully they get this out of their system and fix it. In the meantime, this is a big win for Syracuse. So they're back at it Saturday. They're playing Cornell on Saturday. It's the Boeheim family brawl, if you will. That brawl is a strong word, but Boeheim versus Boeheim. Last year, Jimmy Boeheim came out, stuck a three-pointer right in Dad's grill to open the game. That was a great moment. But now Jimmy gets to play his brother. You got to admit, that's a cool moment to see Jim coach his own son and face off against the other. That'll be cool to see. Certainly a game that Syracuse should, carry the momentum from this one and win. That's when we'll meet again here on Facebook Live. Please read our coverage of this game on syracuse.com. Look for my recap on Thursday morning on syracuse.com. We'll get to work on that now for you guys. And Donna DeTote and Mike Waters doing the thing from Columbus, the great Dennis Nett on the photos as well. So thanks for hanging with us here on Facebook Live. If you missed part of this, want to watch the whole thing, or just in general, you should know we do put this on YouTube. So subscribe to Syracuse Orange Sports, syracuse.com, Syracuse Orange Sports on YouTube, and you can get a YouTube replay of this whenever you want to see it. It'll be up on syracuse.com tomorrow. I included in my recap as well.